Alright. So, I'm going to give my brief opinions on Navia, the new 5-star from Genshin Impact. And how, in my opinion, she's the first real Geo character that the game has actually introduced. So what do I mean by the definition of first real Geo character? Because we've had plenty of before ones. We've had Zhongli. We've had Ningguang, Noelle, Albedo. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Yunjin, Ito, Goru, and not to mention Geo Traveler. But here's the biggest problem with Geo characters in general. None of them have had any actual synergy with Geo reactions. Well, what does that mean? Well, the main Geo reaction is
Umbrella Warfare, I guess!
That's where they create these little crystals here. And up until Navia, there was absolutely no reason ever to generate those. But shields.
Umbrella Warfare, I guess!
Well, that's where we run into the main problem. You see these sparkly shields around the character. They're cute, but we already have a lot of shielders. I mean, Zhongli generates a shield.
Osmanthus wine tastes the same.
Noelle generates a shield. Ningguang creates her construct, which can act as a shield. Even Kaya at C6. Well, I don't remember what. Yeah, Frozen Kiss. There it is. Creates a shield. Beidou basically creates a shield. Xinyan, shield. Baiju, shield. We've got characters that create shields. Layla, shield, and that's... Their shields are not only upgradable, but so much better than the shields you get from the Geo reaction. So the Geo reaction's shield
logo?
is
It was designed by my mother. Have you noticed how it's shaped like a heart?
They don't do anything, they're not practical, and the only class that can generate them doesn't need them for anything. That's why I say that Navia is the first actual Geo character. Because not only does she need the shields, because they keep her from dying, because she doesn't have any support health or personal shields, but she also needs them for her ability to be at maximum effectiveness. This means that, for all intents and purposes, Navia is the only character in Geo that makes use of the crystallized reaction to do anything. Thus, in essence, rendering just about every other Geo character kind of irrelevant. That's the biggest problem I have. All the other characters are cute they do a thing. I'm not saying they don't, but overall, they have almost no use for their own reaction. There's nothing you can build upon with the shard reaction with any other Geo character. They all create them, but none of these constellations have anything to do with the shards or the crystallized reaction. They just don't do anything with them. So the sole reaction that Geo has created throughout its entire career has, up to this point, had nothing to do with Geo. That's why, in my opinion, Navia is the first Geo character to actually bring Geo back into a position where it feels like Geo has relevance. Before now, Geo has had no reason whatsoever to create the shards with its own effect. They haven't done anything for Geo characters. They have no major benefits. And overall, they just kind of have existed as a function of Geo, as the only defensive reaction, which unfortunately also kind of sucks, as the reaction really isn't very powerful, doesn't do very much, and in no way really benefits anything. It doesn't give bonus damage, it doesn't really protect the character for more than one, maybe two hits. So unless your Geo character is constantly on the field generating more, they're not going to be very useful. And if you're generating a lot of Geo shards, you're not generating all of the other effects, which are far more powerful and far more useful, thus causing Geo to unfortunately be the unwanted
really
stepchild of
I don't mind
the
where we
elemental
go,
reactions.
as long as I have my friends with me.
Even Anemo, the next closest unwanted stepchild, does more. You have more reactions that it can do with its swirl reactions, and they have been in the game just as long as Geo. But you have never had the same problem with Anemo that you have with Geo. There are a lot... Let's see... of Anemo characters, and they are all considered fairly powerful.
Oh...
I mean, you've got Lynette, you've got Wanderer, one of the most powerful Anemo characters to date. You've got Kazuha, one of the best grouping characters. You've got Venti, the original best grouping character. You've got Zhao, a great DPS. Jean, in my opinion, one of the best paladin-type characters who not only deals a lot of damage, but also heals you. Sucrose, another really good grouping character. Sayu, another paladin-type, she both does a lot of damage and heals you. Another Anemo DPS, an Anemo support. Anemo has a lot going for it. Geo makes a pillar and a shield, and drops a rock on people. Makes a shield and generates a big sword. Almost pure DPS. Geo support. Geo support. Geo DPS. None of the above. He's not really a support, he's not really a DPS. Geo DPS that actually uses the one reaction in that Geo does to actually increase Aether damage and provide a benefit and a reason to create the crystallize reaction. No use for crystallize. 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 No use for crystallize.
Time with the Spina has taught me that carrying an unreliable weapon is worse than not carrying one at all.
Reaction. What makes it worse is neither does anyone else. Dendro does not react with crystallize. Animo does not react with crystallize. Pyro does not react with crystallize. He's Hydro does not react with crystallize. He's Cryo doesn't react with crystallize. Nothing reacts with crystallize to give you a benefit. You can create crystallize reactions by having Geo and insert element here cause a reaction, but that reaction doesn't do anything other than generate a cheap, lousy, low-quality shield. Navia is the first character to actually put that one reaction back into use, to make you want to use the crystallize reaction, to make a Geo character who actually wants crystallize. Because at this point, nobody else wants crystallize. Raiden doesn't want crystallize. She gets no benefit from the crystallize reaction. Nahida does not want crystallize. Dendro can't crystallize. And it gains no benefit from the crystallize reaction. Farina does not want crystallize. Well, she sort of does. She does need a shield because, I mean, she still has a lot of health. But, I mean, just swap her style and she's now a health generator. Boop, now she generates health. So even she doesn't actually need the shield. Thus, it all kind of becomes this impotent circle jerk where the one reaction that Geo does, nobody wants. No character outside of Navia
I really want to go traveling.
wants other characters to crystallize.
As long as I have my friends with me.
She's it. And that's kind of a problem. It's one of the reasons why Geo has always been a backdoor reaction. Because nobody wants it. Nobody needs it for anything. And ever since they introduced the Rift Wolves, it's become an even more useless reaction because the shields can't protect you from the withering effect. So the one reaction Geo had that had some benefits, the shield, now is completely useless. So it kind of comes to pass that, for all intents and purposes,
but it's such
Navia is the only character in Geo who wants Geo, who wants other elemental characters in the party. Up until now, the best party has been Mono Geo for Geo, which is a problem. And it causes all kinds of problems.
You're trembling.
But, in my opinion, Navia is the solution to that problem. She fixes the biggest issue with Geo, which is its function in pretty much anything. and brings Geo back into its own as an independent group.
The pale flame smolders!
Which, up until now, Geo has basically, again, been mono Geo. It hasn't done anything for anyone. Which causes all kinds of problems.
Go!
It's kind of disappointing when you stop and think about how mono Geo and other elemental effects have overshadowed Geo so badly in the ensuing time. When Zhongli came out, he was underpowered, and they had to give him a buff just to bring him back up to potential. But that hasn't solved the core problem with Geo in of itself, which is, it doesn't do anything. It's a disappointing element with a disappointing effect that has suffered from an inability
The
to do
pale
the
flame
one thing
smolders!
that every other element can do.
Just like we rehearsed!
And that's kind of the problem
Wish me luck!
with Geo as a whole. As a matter of fact, it's with miHoYo's, I guess you could call it, structuring as a whole. Because it doesn't work. Well, it does. Geo as a singular effect and a singular action works fine. But the biggest downside with Geo as a whole, and pretty much anything related to Geo, is it does not work in conjunction with any other element to provide any benefit to the player or anyone else for that matter. So, it winds up being a subpar element that does nothing, doesn't help anyone, and overall is not really what anyone would look for in terms of an element or elemental reaction.
Oz, reveal thyself! I heard you.
Which is in of itself kind of disappointing, because Geo has a lot of potential. I mean, if you really stop and think about what potential Geo had as an element, there's all kinds of reactions that they never bothered to look into. Like, for example, Geo and Hydro basically making that mud effect, like what you have on those... Oh... You know the effect where the guy basically throws mud on your face with a shovel? Yeah, that one. It's silly, but it's still there.
No mercy!
I mean, there's a lot of things that could have been done that just weren't. And probably never will be.
Blitz.
Mostly due to the limitations of the people who created it in the first place. As much as I would love to go, oh, well, this solves
Surrender
the
and
main
I'll be
problem
gentle.
with Geo. It doesn't.
I never asked for redemption.
Well, fudge. Oh, well, you can't win them all. Anyway, I just wanted to say that because there's a lot of issues with Geo and other elements having a major problem with the biggest
I never asked
contributor.
for redemption.
Being that Geo just doesn't have anything that it wants to do with its own reaction. And Navia is the first character to fix that. I don't know why I kept the cryo dice. Don't need those anymore. Overall, Geo's been a bit of a disappointment. It doesn't do anything, it's not a very good element, and yet it is the best element in
No rest for the wicked.
At least it could be. Which is where we run into the main issue. It could be. It's just not being used for it. I do wish that Geo had had the opportunity to shine before Navia had been introduced, but it wasn't.
Why has everyone stopped singing?
And I'm gonna lose. That's disappointing. I gotta sacrifice that.
No mercy!
It's not gonna do anything, but, I mean, it's a cute try. I don't even have anything to do here. Yeah, well, I tried.
Shadow Raven, let night fall!
Mostly just using this as
Winter shall
Anyway.
eventually.
That's my personal opinion of Navia. She brings
Well,
Geo
I'm
back
afraid
to a
your
place
skills
where
need more.
it really can be, once again, a top-tier element. It actually starts making it use the very elemental effects that it has, which is crystallize, makes it to where it can provide a benefit both to the player and to the character there. Sure, why not? And does its thing. There's not much more to say about it.
Welcome. How can I help you? It's been getting
Well,
quite busy.
I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. I'm pretty sure you've all heard me ramble on.
Oh,